The northeastern United States is bracing for the impact of Hurricane Hermine. Several states, including Maryland and New Jersey, have declared emergencies, while beaches have been closed as far north as New York. Technically, Hermine's no longer a hurricane, but it's expected to regain hurricane strength by Monday morning, for many ruining plans for Labor Day weekend. Hermine has caused at least 2 deaths since Friday, when it became the first hurricane to hit Florida in 11 years. Meanwhile, a magnitude 5.6 earthquake hit Oklahoma on Saturday and was felt in at least 5 other states. The quake caused 1 minor injury. Seismologists are looking into whether the tremor was caused by oil and gas drillers pumping wastewater underground, which is known to have caused hundreds of smaller quakes in the region.
Duke. Everyone in Oklahoma is still talking about today's 5.6 magnitude earthquake. Now, several oil disposal wells are set to shut down. 2 Works 3 reporter Corley Peel tells us why this is happening and what do residents think about it.
Well, Corey, some residents are actually saying that these wells are the reason for today's earthquake. This map shows the nearly 40 Arbuckle disposal wells that are being shut down after today's earthquake. You can see the jurisdictions where the OCC and the EPA well jurisdictions are in Pawnee and Osage County. Both of these organizations are currently working together to take action.
I don't like it if that's what's causing all the earthquakes.
Oklahomans like Mona Stieber were off to a shaky start Saturday morning with a 5.6 magnitude earthquake rattling the state and damaging homes. Living on a fault line, Stieber thinks the disposal wells are the reason for today's earthquake.
We've got all these wells, that horizontal wells that's using all this forceful water in them, and then the disposal wells. So I think that's maybe got something to do with it.
The Oklahoma Corporation Commission for Oil and Gas is now enforcing a shutdown for Arbuckle disposal wells within a 725 square mile area, along with the 211 square miles of Osage County.
Today is the fastest and largest shutdown action we've taken.
OCC officials say they're expecting the disposal wells to be shut down within 10 days.
We try to stagger the shutdowns because of warnings from seismologists that sudden pressure changes could cause more earthquakes.
Over the last year, the OCC has been working to control induced earthquakes by limiting the number of active wells. Seismologists believe many of Oklahoma's earthquakes are induced, causing the final processes of drilling for oil. Stieber believes there has to be another way to get oil.
No, there must be a solution to that and still be able to get our oil. Maybe we need to go back to the old way, drill straight down.
OCC officials say the disposal wells are being shut down indefinitely. They are warning residents that aftershocks can occur and could continue over time.
By taking to the streets to resist the coup attempt, the Turkish people once again affirmed their commitment to democracy and the strength and resilience of democratic institutions inside of Turkey. I've assured him that our Justice Department and my national security team will continue to cooperate with Turkish authorities to determine how we can make sure that those who carried out these activities are brought to justice and reaffirm our strong support for the Turkish people and Turkish institutions.
Elsewhere, Daesh terrorists have recently been thrown out of Iraq's Ghayyara after 2 years of control over the town south of Mosul. As our correspondent Ali Musawi reports from the liberated town, the Takfiris have left behind a legacy of death and destruction.
Ghayyara has been liberated from the Daesh terrorist group who fled and left the bodies of their fighters to rot on the streets. It was once a lively town of 40,000 residents, but now it's been reduced to rubble. While residents are relieved that the 2 years of Daesh control is finally over, Many still feel the horror inflicted here by the terrorists.
What didn't they do to us? We were frightened they will slaughter our children. They would behead people and throw their bodies into the rubbish. It was horrific. We wouldn't let the little kid leave the house because Daesh would create a reason to kill them. They murdered a lot of people and kidnapped many who are missing.
It seems that Daesh wanted to take revenge against the people who rose against them and aided the Iraqi army. As its final act of terror, the terrorists flooded the city streets with oil and set wells on fire to hamper any attempts for the locals to rebuild their shattered lives.
They blew up all wells before they fled, so they harmed the people. You see, this whole area is residential and people had to leave their homes to escape the poisonous fumes and the oil spill on the street. One man suffocated and died because of the smoke.
Despite all the atrocities committed by Daesh over the past 2 years, the residents of Qayara are trying to resume their normal life now that the terrorists have fled the city. People here are doing their utmost to revive Qayara to its pre-Daesh era. Homes are being rebuilt, businesses reopened, and the signs of war are being removed. But for many residents, the idea of a normal life is still a dream to come true, as long as the terror group continues to roam freely in the city of Mosul.
World-renowned philosopher and activist Noam Chomsky has accused the United States and its Western allies of turning a blind eye to Saudi Arabia's, quote, destructive rule in the Middle East. In an interview with Lebanese channel Al Mayadeen, Chomsky called Saudi Arabia the key backer of terrorist and insurgent groups such as Daesh and Nusra Front. He said Riyadh endorses those groups and organizations in order to fulfill its own objectives. Chomsky slammed the West's silence on the Arab kingdom's nexus with terrorist groups. He noted that the United States, Britain and France remain silent despite being well aware that Riyadh is seeking to expand its influence through petrodollars.
New this morning, Springfield police have made an arrest after 2 people were shot during a home invasion in the Liberty Heights neighborhood Saturday night. 22 News reporter Tashani Whitlow has new information about the shooting and victims' conditions this morning.
Springfield police told 22 News the 2 victims are still in serious condition. They also told us they've made an arrest in connection with the shooting. Take a look at this map. Springfield Police Lieutenant Scott Richard told 22 News 2 people were shot around 8:30 Saturday night at 133 Melha Avenue in Springfield's Liberty Heights neighborhood. The shooting occurred less than a mile from Bay State Medical Center's emergency room where the victims were taken. Lieutenant Richard said the shooting occurred during a home invasion. Captain Brian Keenan told 22 News that an arrest has been made, although he said he could not release the name of the suspect at this time. That suspect is being charged with 2 counts of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon and discharging a firearm within 500 feet of a dwelling. Now stay with 22 News. In the next half hour, I'll be speaking with Springfield Police and updating you on this story. Live at the Springfield Police Department.
Pilots from Pakistan, UAE and Israel Air Forces took part in a 2-week-long joint military exercise in the U.S. state of Nevada. This was the first time that Israel Air Force participated in an Air Force drill with Muslim countries with which it has no diplomatic ties. Many opposition figures, including senior leaders of Jamaat-e-Islami, voiced concern over Pakistan's joint military exercise with Israel.
The founder of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, declared Israel as illegitimate over its occupation of Palestine. This policy has been pursued by all governments in Pakistan so far, and no government established diplomatic ties with Israel. This policy must now be implemented in every manner.
Let me clarify, there has been no joint exercises between Pakistan and Israel. The host country was the United States of America. Pakistan's stand is very much clear. We have no diplomatic relations with Israel. The host has to decide how the 2 countries have to interact. We did not interact practically with the Israelis. Our crew was very much clear on this SOP.
It is not that unusual to witness protests in Pakistan against Israel. People here carry a strong sense of solidarity with the suppressed Palestinians under Israeli occupation.
Pakistani people dislike Israel because of its large-scale atrocities against unarmed Palestinians over the course of decades, and it has been consistent public pressure which never allowed any government to establish diplomatic relations with Israel despite secret ties in the past.
U.S. President Barack Obama says American and Russian negotiators are trying hard to reach a deal on a cessation of hostilities in Syria.
So John Kerry and his counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, have been working around the clock, as well as a number of other negotiators, to see what would a real cessation of these look like that could provide that humanitarian access and provide people in places like Aleppo relief. We're not there yet, and understandably, given the previous failures of cessations of hostilities to hold, we approach it with some skepticism, but it is worth trying.
Obama noted that the U.S. and Russia have deep differences with regard to the parties they support in Syria, as well as the process to bring peace there. Yet, Obama said the Russian-American talks are key for efforts to reduce violence in the Arab state. The U.S. president said talks on the situation in Syria are difficult because trying to corral all forces on the ground into a coherent structure for negotiations is difficult. Obama was speaking at a joint press conference with British Prime Minister Theresa May on the sidelines of the G20 summit in China.
In Libya, at least 17 people have been killed in new clashes between forces and ISIL militants in the coastal city of Sirte. The clashes came as Libyan fighters advanced against some of ISIL's last holdouts in the city. On Saturday, Libya's forces suffered 7 deaths and 30 injuries as they captured several buildings between Sirte's neighborhoods and destroyed an ISIL car bomb. At least 10 ISIL militants were killed in the clash. Previously in May, Libyan forces launched their campaign to recapture the city. Since August, the government has been aided by dozens of U.S. airstrikes, but forces faced stiff resistance from militants who holed up in a slowly shrinking residential area in the center of the city. Losing Sirte will be a major blow for ISIL as it's using it as an important base. ISIL took full control of the city more than a year ago.
In Syria have reportedly forced Daesh terrorists out of several villages near the Turkish border. So-called Free Syrian Army militants say that 8 villages near the town of Ra'i have been cleansed of the Takfiris. Latest development comes just a few days after militants took control of the Syrian town of Jarablus with the support of the Turkish army. Meanwhile, Turkey opened a new front in northern Syria where Ankara has already deployed its tanks and heavy weaponry. Turkish government's been under mounting criticism for its incursion into Syria, which it says is against Daesh and Kurdish forces.
Tonight, a man shot by police responding to a call about street racing.
KCAL 9's Jeff Nguyen is there live with more information. Jeff.
Still a very active investigation going on right now. Peter and Elsa right behind me. You can see some yellow tape right here. Several blocks sealed off. Let me step aside so I can ask Scott Mackey to push in on our camera right now. You can see several police units out there, about half a dozen police officers still on the scene here. Let's go ahead and roll some video to show you what we have been seeing. Now, San Bernardino police tell us they got a call about street racing and that someone was driving recklessly just before 6:15 tonight. It happened near North California and 27th Streets. This is next to an elementary school. Police say when officers got here, several people ran, so they chased them down on foot. Officers used a stun gun on one person. They then shot him with their regular guns. One neighbor told us she was playing with her kids about 150 yards away.
My kids were out here playing, but I didn't hear no cars racing. The only thing I heard was the gunshots. The only thing I did is grab my kids and put them inside the home.
Now, police say that a gun was found at the scene. No officers were hurt. However, one suspect has been taken to a hospital. At this point, his condition is not being released. And coming up on our sister station, CBS 2 at 11, we will have more on what one neighbor told us happened to that man after he was dropped by gunfire.
Week in KCK with another homicide investigation launched this afternoon. Tonight, police, leaders, and members of the community gathered together for a candlelight vigil and to take a stance against gun violence. 41 Action News reporter Lexi Suter is live from police headquarters. Lexi?
Dia, what a week it has been for police here in KCK and really for the community. 4 homicides just this week, bringing the total this year to 28. Now, that is up from 22 last year, and people here say it has to stop. in gray. Standing next to a car with its windows blown out from bullets, people cried, sang, and comforted one another. Lavita Davis lost 2 people she loves to gun violence just this week.
This is extremely hard, and I feel hurt, and I feel just a great amount of pain.
On Tuesday, her friend, 30-year-old Natasha Hayes, was sleeping inside her home here on 9th and Cleveland when she was shot and killed.
This was a woman, a mother, who worked 16 hours the day before, who came home to get sanctuary in her home where she should have had peace.
Then on Friday, a member of her drill team, the Gateway High Steppers, was gunned down at the Chelsea Plaza apartment complex. She was 15.
Because our community needs to heal. We need to come together and create unity, and that's what we're trying to do as a drill team. It takes a village, and I want to be part of that village.
This KCK community is reeling, praying for peace, answers, and for accountability.
And as members of this community, you should not be okay. That's what happened to my sister, what happened to this woman, what is happening to our children. It is not okay.
Now, police do have some leads in these murders, but say they don't have enough for any major breakthroughs. They are counting on the community for leads in all of these cases. If you know anything, if you have any information, you are urged to call the TIPS hotline at 474-TIPS.
3 people hurt tonight after a tornado touched down in the Outer Banks. The National Weather Service confirmed it this afternoon in Hatteras Village. People nearby described it as terrifying.
Just minutes before this happened, Jessica Kane and her family were sleeping inside.
The alarm came over on my husband's phone that said, tornado warning, take shelter.
This was at 1 in the morning. She woke her kids and husband up and she ran out. Jessica watched the wind pick up her camper, throw it on its side, and she ran into the women's bathroom at the campgrounds.
I'm in a state of shock right now, but all the kids are fine.
And the same for Ann Leonard. This is her camper. It lifted off the ground and landed in this lake.
We were only in the restroom maybe a minute with all the kids in a stall, and then we heard the big crashes and booms outside.
The crashes and booms were this, her home destroyed.
It's material stuff. We have what's important. We have our children, we have our family. It's material. I'm just watching it, kind of wondering if it's going to take the bridge out.
All of them walked away without a scratch, but not the same situation after this. These pink and green structures are bungalows. They too were lifted up by the hands of Mother Nature and tossed into the lake. There were families inside when it happened. They were able to swim to safety and taken to the hospital, we're told, with minor injuries.
Terrifying. Very terrifying.
Maybe the only way to describe the winds, the rain, the force overnight at the Hatteras Sands campground.
And the families, by the way, are now staying at a hotel. The National Weather Service says they plan to send a survey team when conditions improve to determine just how strong and how big that tornado was.
Our team coverage takes us to Norfolk now, where heavy rains and tidal flooding has caused some big problems.
Yes, tides rise tonight. There may be even more problems. 10 on your sides, Maria Elena Balores has more about exactly what's happening in Norfolk. Maria.
Yeah, Laura, Tom, the rain has stopped. The wind seems to have been dying down, but there is still a lot of water on some of the roadways. Take a look behind me here. We're right by the Hague in downtown Norfolk. This whole intersection is flooded. We actually were in the water a little bit ago, but it has steadily been rising throughout the night. Now, we talked with a lot of different people across Norfolk today. Some of them were prepared for this rain, but others say they were shocked by what happened. Knee-high water shutting down roads, cars stalling out, trees falling in the streets. Tropical storm Hermine left its mark on Norfolk.
It's crazy. I've never seen anything like it, so I don't know what to say. Like, I've never been in a situation like this.
Kayla Flowers moved to the area 1 year ago and says she didn't know she was moving to a flood-prone area. But others weren't surprised to see their neighborhoods and front yards covered in water.
You deal with living by the river, you have to deal with the water, but I like the view too much to move.
Eric Hicks has lived in the Larchmont area of Norfolk for 2 years. Now on his second major storm, he was ready for the rain.
It just takes it a couple hours actually for the sump pumps to pump everything out. The only problem is all our air conditioning for the downstairs is located underneath the house.
He described the damage as irritating, but with another high tide coming through, it could get worse.
Now, if the water gets another foot or two higher than what it was right there, we would see water in the house.
And that threat of damage has some people, like Flowers, looking to leave the area.
I've never seen anything like this before. I woke up at around 8 and I came out and my truck was almost submerged underwater, so I moved it up more in the parking lot, but it hasn't came in the house yet.
It seems like the worst has passed, but now the cleanup will begin. Reporting live in Norfolk, Maria Elena Boloris, 10 on your side.
And the storms created some big problems in Virginia Beach, too.
10 East Side's Andy Fox joins us now, where people say it could have been worse.
Yeah, could have been worse. And Tom, earlier today, Hermine took down that wall. Tonight, there's another wall of people trying to return to normal, a wall of people playing Pokemon Go.
All about Francis, no-go zones, hundreds of Muslim-controlled areas around Paris. We have them here in the United States, too. I bet you did not know that. We have them here in the United States, too. I bet you did not know that. That outsiders and cops don't dare to explore. They chose just to give it up. We have them here in the United States, too. I bet you did not know that. Nearly 24 enclaves popping up across 9 different states. Watch what happens when a stranger or an outsider tries to step inside.
Have you on our land anymore? Down there, and you'll be arrested.
But your land is open to the public.
You're arrested. You come down.
I'm not being nice about it because I don't appreciate y'all. The way y'all came up. Okay? Leave. Period. Leave. Period. Don't say another word.
Joining us right now, the man behind that camera, founder and president of the Christian Action Network and author of Twilight in America, the untold story of Islamic training camps in America. Martin Moyer joins us right now. Martin, what was taking place right there? Where were you?
Well, we were in Red House, Virginia. In these particular no-go zones, you cannot get into. They have gates, they have armed guards, they have security forces, and when you go up into them, you're specifically told to leave these particular areas, and they're particularly dangerous.
And we're watching right now. Where are we seeing this footage from?
This is a video they put out for the people inside of the compounds so that they learn how to do terrorist-type training. They teach them how to kidnap people, how to strangle them, how to kill guards, how to do guerrilla-type warfare training. And this is what goes on in these isolated no-go zones inside the United States.
In America, name some states, name some areas, because you also say they're affiliated with a Pakistani militant group.
Yeah, that Pakistani militant group is called Jamaat al-Furqa, run by Sheikh Jelani. They teach them how to kidnap people, how to strangle them, how to kill guards, how to do guerrilla-type warfare training. And this is what goes on in these isolated no-go zones inside the United States.
In America, name some states, name some areas, because you also say they're affiliated with a Pakistani militant group.
Yeah, that Pakistani militant group is called Jamaat al-Furqa, run by Sheikh Jelani, who most people haven't heard of, but that is the guy that Daniel Pearl, Wall Street Journal, was hoping to interview and was arranging to interview when he was kidnapped and then later beheaded.
So name some towns, name some cities, name some states. Where are
Well,
you?
we have him in Texas, Sweeney, Texas. We have him in York, South Carolina. We have him in Commerce, Georgia. We have him in Red House, Virginia. We have him in upstate New York. We have him in California. We have him in Michigan. They're scattered all around the United States.
So right now, when you call an officer and say, hey, wait a second, you got an enclave here, this is Islamic extremists being trained on our ground, what is the law enforcement's reaction?
Well, the interesting thing about these camps, they're located in very rural areas of America, which has very small police departments, and they intentionally set them up in these areas where, for instance, the one in New York, they have a total of 4 police officers.